Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Art of Unraveling podcast and my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Erin McGuire Henson, and today's episode is going to be all about how I truly believe that nervous system healing is one of the greatest and deepest spiritual journeys we can go on. We often don't think of nervous system work as being spiritual because it is more connected into, somatic world, psychology, therapy, and that kind of a thing. But the way I teach nervous system work and the way it's unraveled for me has been deeply spiritual. For one thing, it really connects you to yourself in a very deep way. And it helps you when you start learning about your own unique nervous system, what triggers you, what your kind of go to, what we call your home away from home nervous system state is, um, so on and so forth. Many things that we go into in my one on one program and in my somatic coaching program that help you to understand in a way you were not taught, I promise you, because I took biology in college. I learned all about fight, flight, freeze, and was never applied it to myself, never was taught it in a way about how it applied to me. Rather, most of us are learning about the nervous system in a more scientific way, just kind of what its purpose is, what its structure is, how it works for us. We're not taught nervous system work in a way that, oh, this is how my nervous system, my unique nervous system works. These are the things my unique nervous system sees as a threat. And sometimes it's things that are very off the wall. You know, it's interesting to think, I believe I share this in my last podcast about how sometimes success and greater visibility following your dream, my dream to write a book, and how that completely shut my nervous system down when I came home from my book tour because that was unsafe growing up. You don't make yourself big. So my nervous system saw that as a threat and it shut me down, but I didn't prepare for that. I didn't realize that was going to happen. In hindsight, maybe I could have prepared a little bit more, but our nervous systems are so unique and they're based on our childhood experiences. And so the nervous system work becomes a deep spiritual path because we begin learning more attunely ourselves. The nervous system is the animal body. It's not logical. It's not like, oh, Erin just got back from her book tour and she's just, she just really put herself out there and now it's okay. She doesn't have to go into, a freeze state to protect herself. She'll be fine. It's not logical like that. That's the prefrontal cortex. That came online in the human evolution like 150 million years later, after the nervous system. I mean, think about that. That is just kind of crazy to think about. In human evolution, our prefrontal cortex, our thinking mind, was not online for 150 million years after our nervous system. So just that alone, taking in, if your brain can even understand that, it's like it's hard to even understand 150 million years. We were just animals in a lot of ways for that period of time. Now that we have the prefrontal cortex, we can logically think, and that's a problem because we all get stuck in our heads and we're all trying to analyze what's going on in our nervous systems, and that doesn't work. Or we're going to talk therapy and we're trying to talk through all the trauma, but it's still living in our body. So this is why these are more layers to why I say nervous system is deep spiritual work. It is going to show you your shadows. It's going to show you your shadow self. It's going to show you places where your inner child still needs love and attention. It's going to show you places that you still unconsciously get scared and sabotage your success, sabotage yourself. And once you see it and understand it, you can't unsee it. It's now awareness within you. And with that awareness, we get to transform and shift. So I truly believe that nervous system work is for everyone. I think everyone on the planet needs it, especially in these crazy times we live in. Very dysregulating times, very uncertain. Life is always uncertain, though. And this path, this nervous system journey that you go on is deeply transformational. It's deeply knowing thyself in ways you didn't even think you needed to. And although I've heard from people that there is a bit of hesitancy to want to get into nervous system work, there's a hesitancy, there's I don't know what this is going to, open up for me. I'm not sure I want to do this. And I understand all of that. But I understand all of that. But I can say, you all have heard my story. If this is your first time listening, you can go back and hear different parts of my story on other podcasts. But you all know that I had chronic fatigue after years of doing meditation, mindset, subconscious reprogramming, energy healing, yoga, mindfulness. I was doing all of the things that I thought I needed to do, and my body still broke down. And it's because I was unconsciously living in a dysregulated nervous system. I was unconsciously stressed. I would go to massage therapists and they'd be like, "What do you do for a living?" And I'd say, at that time, I was doing more yoga. I'm like, "I'm a yoga teacher," just to like sum up what I was doing in a short sentence. And they're just like, it just wasn't tracking. They were confused. They're like, "What do you mean you teach yoga and meditation and you're this tight in your body?" And it's because my nervous system was bracing for the next threat. I was unconsciously putting myself in all of these threatening conditions. And that has become even more clear to me. In my last podcast episode, I came back from my book tour and went into kind of a freeze. Well, I thought that wouldn't last that long, but it's still kind of going on. I'm still getting more tired. I still feel more tired than I did. My sleep is kind of erratic here and there. It's, good days, bad days with sleep. Um, I feel like it's better, but I'm still not back to the way that I was. I still feel like I have to pull back in my work. And what I've realized is that my relationship to working has been very unbalanced, probably most of my life. And that is because, partially because of my early childhood trauma, partially because of owning my own business, because I was already wired to be that strong one that does everything, and it's like the taskmaster. I went into entrepreneurship kind of with the same attitude and just like, I got to get it done. I have the constant list. I got to do it. I got to do it. Push, 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 push. Force, 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 force. And again, because nervous system work is such a deep spiritual journey, as I've learned about the nervous system over the years, and as I saw myself kind of going into this functional freeze state, upon writing my book and upon coming back from my book tour now, it's really made me pause and it's made me look at why this is happening. And I put so much pressure on myself to get my book finished. I went through and I re-edited everything myself last fall, and I was pushing, pushing, pushing. I wanted to add more information. I eventually just had to like close the book and be like, this is it, because I could have kept adding to it for years. And I'm glad I was setting boundaries with myself at one point. It got to the point where I was just like, I've got to stop. But I kept pushing and pushing, and doing the book on top of running my other business was just a lot. And then there was a huge push at the end, and like, just going through the whole self-publishing journey for the first time, and the learning curves with that, and just a lot of, as with any creative project, a lot of hiccups along the way, and this pressure that I was putting on myself, this internal pressure that I've put on myself as an entrepreneur, because I don't have a boss saying I need this by this deadline. So I have to be that person that, creates these imaginary deadlines and forces myself to get there. But often I'm doing that going against the flow of my own body, which I learned so deeply through my chronic fatigue journey not to do that. And yet here I was again because of this project. So my point in sharing all of this is this pressure, this forcing, this push, this constant doing that we talk about in here, because a lot of my people are the strong ones, the eldest daughters, the ones that hold everything for everyone else, that hold the emotional support for everybody else. We are the ones that are burning out. We're burning out. We're burning ourselves out. It's not a sustainable pattern, and it's completely being driven by fear. Many fears under that, that are driving that need to do all the time. And so the second thing I say that nervous system work is, number one, it's one of the greatest spiritual paths, I believe. It's a deep spiritual path. Number two, and it kind of goes off of number one, it connects you to your feminine energy. Your feminine energy is the soft energy, the soft power, the magnetic presence. Feminine energy is more present. It's more the flow state. It's the receiving. It's nurturing. It's the yin energy, which is like the moon. So there's phases, right? Whereas masculine energy, which we also have within us, we have both, whatever your gender is, doesn't matter. You have both feminine and masculine energy. The masculine is sun, it's yang, it's fast, it's direct, it's giving, it's supporting, it's protecting. And so we all have an inner masculine and an inner feminine. But for most women on the planet, certainly the women I see in my work, we have been programmed through our society, through childhood trauma, through ancestral programming, to be more in our wounded or misaligned masculine, which is that forcing and that to do and that holding and that carrying of everyone, carrying the emotional weight, carrying the to-dos, being the regulator for your family, right? While you're falling apart on the inside, you're probably the one that holds everything else for everybody else. And they call you, like, I don't know what I would do without you. And that's wonderful. But that energy breaks you down. And I'm seeing, I have my own personal theories about this, but I see that the breaking down happening in perimenopause time. So these women, when these types of women, when they hit perimenopause, it's like stuff starts to break down, whether it's physically in their body or emotionally or mental health or whatever, but something breaks down in that late 30s, early 40s time because it's not sustainable to keep going in your wounded masculine. So, and the wounded masculine is also controlling. It's putting pressure on yourself, on it's nagging, nagging your spouse to do things and feeling very frustrated, feeling like it all falls on you, feeling like you have to plan everything for your family, for your friends, and not feeling like you really have a place where you can just be. This is so common in our society, and our society congratulates that. It congratulates the woman that can do it all and hold it all and be it all. It doesn't congratulate the woman that can rest. Things are shifting a little bit, but it's still very leaned that way. So when we can allow ourselves to work with our nervous system, work with it, when we can learn to be more compassionate to ourselves because the nervous system got programmed, got wired, got patterned, whatever word you want to use there, in early childhood based on what happened. And then we can see, oh, all the things that I'm struggling with, all the things I wish were different about myself are really just programs I learned to survive. Then I can have some compassion for myself as I go about repatterning myself. And the next step on that journey is learning how to realign with our feminine energy, learning how to be more, be in the being more than in the doing, which I know, again, I can hear people's thoughts, but I work 9 to 5 and I've got all these things I have to do each day and I don't have time to rest. And it's like we can make all the excuses we want. I know there's parts of your day where you could step away. I know there's parts of your day you could ask for more help. I know there's parts of your day you could delegate. And then I'm hearing, well, I'm a single mom and I don't have any help. I get that. And, sometimes I've worked with single moms that have kids that are a little older that could be helping with things, but we don't ask the kids to do things because they're going to not do it as well. So I might as well just do it. That's misaligned. Could you ask a family member? And I'm not here to dissect each and every individual person's family dynamic and home dynamic, but I'm guessing there is somebody you could ask. There's somebody that could help you. There's something you could take off your plate. You're just not doing it because you have a story that says, I need to do this because other people can't do it as good as me. Or I need to do this because otherwise it won't get done. Whatever the story is, there's something there. The other thing I was thinking about too, as it, around after my lunch today, I cleaned up the dishes from last night. I had this thought because I'm the type of person, I love a clean kitchen, but there's nights where I'm just like, I don't feel like it, or my husband doesn't feel like it, and we don't pressure each other to do that. He's pretty good about helping clean things up. But I don't force him to do that every night. And if there's a night where I just feel tired, like sometimes by the end of the night, I'm just like, I can't be bothered with the dishes. And I had this thought today as I was doing the dishes at lunchtime. I wonder, I think there's some pretty hardcore women listening to this podcast that wouldn't even think of leaving dishes in the sink. I bet there's people listening to this podcast that are like, yeah, no problem. I do that all the time. Um, but I'm just curious, like, is this story that my house has to look pristine, that everything must be put away and perfect? I had a client recently, she told me her husband said, it, our house looks like nobody lives here because it is so, and they have two young kids, because it is so clean and picked up and everything put in its place every night. And some of us have such rigidity around letting something go. So I asked her, how often are you doing laundry? And she's like, every day, and it's, again, I'm not here to dissect everybody's situation. Okay. And you might want to try to argue with me left, right, and center, and that's fine. But you don't need to do laundry every day. You don't even need to do your dishes every day. You could let the dishes go one night and just see what happens. Maybe that is absolutely horrifying for you and it makes you feel worse than if you just do them. But if not doing them gives you some extra time with your loved ones, instead of feeling like you're going from one job to the next with a constant running to-do list in your mind, why not give that a try? Why not delegate something to someone or ask for some support? Trust me, I know that that's very uncomfortable if you haven't done that. And it can be a little messy. Sometimes people just like won't show up for you because they've been so used to you doing it all. But it's just a thought. I'd be curious how that goes. And when we can do that, we can allow ourselves more space and more time in those delegated moments. And also pay attention to yourself in those delegated moments. Are you able to relax with somebody else doing something, or does that bring up a lot of anxiety in your system? That's just something to be aware of. All of this, when we start letting go of that rigidity, that control, that force, that misaligned masculine, and allowing, we start surrendering to what is, not like just giving up, but we surrender to our body's energy that day instead of pushing through when our body's clearly telling us you're done. When we stop putting the pressure on ourselves, when we allow ourselves to receive on a deeper level, watch how life shows up to meet you. Because that energy is magnetic. People want to just naturally do for people that are in their feminine energy, that know how to lean back and receive versus being the force that forces everything in their life and in their family. People want, they don't even know why, but they want to show up for you. Create a little experiment with it and just see. Maybe don't do the dishes one night and have a little extra time, or ask your husband or partner to do the dishes for you if you're the one that always does them. Ask your kids to help you with something if they're old enough, or even if they're very young, ask them to pick up their toys. Start at a young age so that they learn that it's not just mom doing everything for everybody. Because I hear that from people all the time with grown children. They're like, I did everything. This is programmed and it doesn't need to be this way. And if you're exhausted and you're listening to this, then I need you to hear this, that when you can receive, when you can lean back and receive, watch how life starts showing up to you. Life can't show up to you when you're pushing forward all the time and you're just kind of in that forward forward push energy, and you're in your head and you're thinking about all the things you need to do, and you're just constantly in the future. Because when we're thinking about all the things we need to do, we're constantly in the future. We're not in the present. When we're not in the present's where our power is. So when I can lean back and receive, I can get things done in my day without force. I can. That's a huge unraveling process. And you can lean back and receive. Watch how life starts showing up to you. This is what I'm currently unraveling right now in my own life with my relationship to work, my relationship to pressure. And I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't all need to get done today. It just doesn't. It doesn't. That's just, again, that's something that you're doing to control your environment because it makes you feel better. Be with the discomfort a little bit more. Build that capacity to feel that discomfort and give yourself some breaks in your day. Okay, that's a lot of information for today. We've covered many different parts of this journey. I do have my somatic coaching program. It's starting very soon. If you're listening to this, reach out to me. It's a 3-month program. We deep dive into the nervous system healing, repatterning, somatic practices, inner child healing, emotional empowerment practices. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but we go deeply. This is a deep personal journey while you're also learning how to coach other people with their nervous system work. So it's both. It's personal growth and it's a training program to become a somatic coach, which really is a revolutionary practice, in my opinion. I think we're going to start seeing more and more somatic practitioners coming online because this work is so needed for all the reasons I've talked about in this podcast. So if you want to be on that cutting edge and have these tools to be able to share with you, to help yourself, to help your family, to help your friends, your community, and also create a business with it, then message me to get information on that. Again, it's my 3-month somatic coaching and embodiment program. I only do it once a year. So it's happening now and it'll happen again in around March 2027. But don't wait if you can. Don't wait, because imagine how much farther along you would be if you do it now versus waiting. That's all I'm going to say. But thank you so much for being here. And I truly hope that something landed for you today. And I'd love to hear what that is. You can let me know in any of the links below this video or podcast. Thank you so much. See you next time.